If you've been feeling disconnected from your body, feeling numb, feeling that sense of being cut off from your juice, from your essence, first of all, it's not your fault. Oh my gosh, it is so not your fault. You are not alone. And it actually really makes sense. This is your body's genius response to a world that is pretty crazy, a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm. So you're not alone, it's not your fault. And there are ways to reconnect, and that is really the core of my work. So, hi, if you're new here, I'm Diane, and I run a sacred feminine mystery school for women who are navigating midlife, menopause, and beyond, who really want to reclaim the sacredness of their bodies and the power of their pleasure, because pleasure is the portal back. A big part of what we do is reestablishing that connection, that relationship with our sensuality in my work. So, this is my Mother's Day episode, and I wanted to offer you a really simple practice, a sensual breathwork practice that you can do on a regular basis to really connect to, again, your core essence. So, if that's something you want to do, you're in the right place. Let's dive right in.
Well, hello there, love, and welcome to the Vital Goddess podcast. If you've been here before and you are tuning in again, welcome back. Always such a pleasure. And if you're brand new, maybe you just found the show and you're just checking this out for the very first time, well, I am so thrilled you're here, and I hope you find something here that truly supports you, something that speaks to you, something that you are looking for. So happy Mother's Day weekend to all of you mothers and grandmothers, maybe great grandmothers out there, all of you who are nurturing life and all the ways that it moves through you. And I also want to mention that this day, Mother's Day and Mother's Day weekend, can really hold a lot of layers. It can be really tender for some it can be really complex, and for some there might be grief, right? And distance and a longing, and all kinds of emotions come up. So wherever you find yourself today, you are so welcome here. So, being the Friday of Mother's Day weekend, I thought I would share a bit with you on a recent salon that we explored in my community. If you haven't heard me speak about this, I run a sacred feminine mystery school, or a goddess school, if you will. I also like to think of it as a Venus school, Venusian, because we do focus a lot on reclaiming the sacredness of our bodies and the power of our pleasure. And we do that through a variety of embodiment practices. And yeah, the space is just, it's like a living temple, really, for women who really want to dive in and reclaim their bodies in this way, their sensuality, their aliveness. And as a part of that journey, we go through an archetypal journey that I call the Venus Rose Path. And there are 5 different salons that we explore in the Venus Rose Path. The first one being, of course, Aphrodite, Reclaiming Aphrodite, where we again talk about how patriarchy has really cast a spell on all things Venus and how do we reclaim it. And in my world, we do that through embodiment, getting in relationship with our bodies. And when we do get in, again, reclaiming that relationship with our bodies through breath, through movement, through a variety of practices that we explore, this remembering starts to stir. A woman remembers through the intelligence of her body, the wisdom of her body starts to awaken. And that's the reclamation. That's when she reclaims herself. So, just to give you a little taste of how that works. But we do dive deep in a lot of embodiment practices. I am a certified Taoist tantric practitioner, so we do explore things in the realm of sensuality and practices like the Taoist jade egg practice and many other things in that realm. But again, I do guide women through this archetypal journey of the Venus Rose Path. So the first one, of course, Aphrodite. The second part of that journey is reclaiming the sacred masculine within. And this is where we reclaim our relationship with our own inner masculine energy. And I think this is so important because we have accumulated a lot of conditioning around that. And it is really absolutely affecting us on so many levels, how our own inner masculine is treating our feminine. So we do a deep dive on that. Then we go into the Dark Goddess, which is a really spicy, juicy one, where we really go into desire and how do we reclaim the power of our desire. and have it work for us instead of against us. And there's a lot there. But our fourth salon, the one that we explore, is Creatrix, Reclaiming the Great Mother Within. So I thought I'd share with you a bit on that today, on what we explored. It was so powerful. Women left the experience feeling so connected to themselves, so grounded, so reconnected to their power, which really, it's amazing how that can happen when a woman gives herself space and permission to be in a space where the space is held, where she can again reestablish that connection, that relationship to her body through her breath, through her own movement. I'm always amazed at how quickly things can shift for a woman, just having that space. What we explored in that salon was going into like, who is the creatrix? Who is the great mother? And from my perspective, the great mother is, again, this has been really skewed in patriarchy, or it gets confusing, but to put it in a nutshell, I feel like the great mother within all of us is that part of us who creates from her body, from her desire, her intuition, her body's intelligence, her emotional wisdom, and her sensuality and eros are a huge part of that. The creatrix is the original sensual artist. And the thing I want to really underscore here through all the archetypes we explore, but the great mother, her power comes from embodiment. Again, getting in relationship with her body, getting in relationship with her sensuality and her sexual energy. This is a big part of this reclamation. So the patriarchal spell on the great mother, it teaches us to give before we've ever learned how to receive. And it teaches us to nurture, get really good at nurturing others, right? Without ever first having that experience of being fully nourished and deeply satisfied ourselves. It teaches us to become everything under the sun for others before we've fully tasted the wholeness of who we are. Let's just let that sit for a moment, right? Can you relate to that? It's amazing how we are thrown into things without a goddess initiation, I'll call it, on how to actually nourish ourselves, how to actually receive, how to really live from a place of being in our pleasure, in our bodies in ways that feel good, so that giving comes from that place of overflow. And to really have that authenticity of who we are, really tasted the wholeness and the divinity, I'll add to that, of who we truly are. And what a world this would be if women had that opportunity. The good news is it's not too late to initiate ourselves, and that's really a big part of what my goddess school, my Venus school is really all about, and what we do there. So the cost of this is huge. The cost of this spell of the patriarchy on the great mother. And there are so many things I could say here, but basically, because of this spell, eros can really become very elusive, and women can be like, where did my passion go? Especially when we hit midlife. See, my take on midlife is that it's not a decline. It's not your body falling apart. It's actually a wake up. It's a wake up call from the goddess herself. And these systems that we've been operating under have never worked for the feminine. And midlife is the time where it really becomes clear, okay, this is not working for the feminine, right? So at this period of life, midlife and beyond even, eros can feel really distant and elusive, like the whole libido tanking and all of that, where my reframe on that is actually, it's still right there. It's just that we are being asked to come into a very different relationship with our bodies, with our sensuality, and with our sexuality, and what it's really all about, right? But again, part of this spell of patriarchy, the cost of that can be that eros becomes elusive and we don't even know how to access it. And desire can become really confusing. And this is something we dive deep into in the Dark Goddess Salon, but we can be really confused about desire, not just erotic desire, but desire in general, and how desire really is meant to be a guide in our lives, and getting intimate and in relationship with our true desires is everything. It's really the way to live your life from the inside out, from that place of pleasure, to really step into, again, the creatrix you were born to be. Another thing that can happen, this cost of this spell of the patriarchy, is our identity can begin to blur. And what I mean by that is when we reclaim again ourselves in this way, one of the areas that starts to light up and we reclaim our radiance is the solar plexus area, our identity. And under the patriarchy, we can really have this confusion of, where do I start? Where does my mother stop and I begin, right? Where does that step into my full identity of womanhood, which again, we haven't had the initiations for this, no fault of our mothers or grandmothers, but we can find ourselves carrying this baggage and luggage around with us from a lot of ancestral stuff too, that we're not meant to hold, we're not meant to carry. And that's patriarchy. It keeps a woman rooted down in that heaviness rather than really truly stepping into the creatrix who she's born to be, right? And many of the women in my world are cycle breakers. And it doesn't mean you need to distance yourself from your mother or your lineage by any means. It's just this reclamation of like really claiming your identity. And we do that through embodiment. We do it through embodiment. Again, getting in relationship to your body, your breath, your sensuality, your eros. That's where this aha starts to happen. I see it all the time. Powerful stuff. So as a result of all of this, our bodies, which is again the source of our power, start to become something that we manage, right? Problems to solve, something to fix. And if you're a woman who's really done with fixing herself, I'm so glad you're here. You're in the right place, because this is the next step, right? Instead of just getting in that rabbit hole or hamster wheel, really, of trying to fix ourselves, which can be useful to some degree, but we can find ourselves easily slapping Band-Aids on. I think you know what I mean, right? Instead of really getting into the roots and really reclaiming, right? And again, moving from that space of our body as something to manage or even micromanage, which over time doesn't feel good, into something that we live in, this living, breathing temple that we get to live in. Yeah. And as a result of all of this, we can find ourselves performing roles, feeling numb, feeling cut off from the fullness of who we truly are. And I think it's so common to have that experience. Again, it's because of the patriarchy, but we're here to break the spell. No worries. We got this. The reclamation is where we start to really move from that place of obligation, sacrifice, external roles that just get piled upon us, motherhood under the patriarchy, back into the reclamation of our true power, our creativity, our self-devotion, that's huge, our authenticity, and authenticity in all areas. So again, the spell break is not something that we need to do through force. I'm of the opinion that we don't need to blow up the patriarchy at this point. It's doing a really good job at burning itself down, right? We could just grab some popcorn and watch it all happen. It's happening. But we do need healing. We do need healing and support. We do need to reclaim ourselves. And that happens through relationship with our bodies, from my perspective. Relationship with your body, your breath, your sensuality, your eros, your erotic power, and with your womb and your solar plexus and the whole region here of the navel. Pleasure is the portal. So through this reclamation, right, the way back is not through force. It's so important to remember, because that could really bring us into a place of resistance and steal our energy more than it's worth. But when you start to, again, listen to your body, start to really get in relationship, your body starts to soften, your sensation starts to return, right? When your body feels safe, your sensuality naturally starts to awaken. Your desire begins to speak again. and something ancient starts to reawaken. Again, you begin to remember. Through relationship, this sacred remembrance starts to happen. And the spell break starts to happen, right? The moment you begin to feel again. So again, the womb and the sacral chakra. This is an area that, again, many women can feel cut off from and numb. And it was so interesting in the salon where we explored this. Many of the women in my world are menopausal or postmenopausal. And one of the women shared, like, wow, I never think of my womb or even my sacral chakra so much anymore as a postmenopausal woman. And yet it is so valuable. It's everything, I think, to really give yourself permission to dive into this area, connect with this area. This is where life moves through you as sensation, as pleasure, as eros. And if we cut off from the womb space thinking we don't need it, and this has nothing to do with having the physical womb intact, this is an energy center, power center that belongs to you. It's amazing how that can really shift everything. And again, this is also about reclaiming the area of the solar plexus chakra, right? So this is your inner sun, your I am, your authenticity. And again, this can get kind of clouded under patriarchy and under all the roles that we take on. We start to get confused about, wow, who am I authentically, right? I might know who I am in my profession, but to dive in and really claim that in an embodied way is a whole other experience. So even if you are postmenopausal, I want you to start to think of your womb and the womb space as your creative portal that you get to inhabit. Your womb is not something to fix. She is a living intelligence within you. Your womb is where the invisible becomes felt and the felt becomes form. This is where we create our lives from the inside out. And your solar plexus, your personal power, your inner sun, this is where you get to shine. It's not something you need to prove. It's something that you feel when you trust what's true within you. And I find that when a woman reclaims this, there's this steady radiance that rises from within. It is remarkable. So what I'd love to do now is to share a short and sweet sensual breathwork practice with you that I call the Navel Flower. It's a beautiful way to bridge these two power centers, and focusing on the navel on Mother's Day weekend feels like a great idea, really reclaiming your power in this way for you. So you'll need a comfortable place to sit down without distraction just for a few minutes. And I'll just give you a taste of it here, just a few minutes. And then in the show notes, you'll find a more extended practice if you want to go deeper with this one. This could be a beautiful meditation. And so let's dive in. So for the Navel Flower practice, you want to find a comfortable seat. And taking your left hand, the palm of your left hand, placing it right on your navel. It could be skin on skin if that's available. And right hand stacked on top of left. And just adding a little bit of pressure, just enough to feel good, to feel supportive, so your body can feel you, that you're here. It's like an anchor for your attention. And starting to breathe in through the nose and out through your mouth with a deep sigh, taking that a few times. And if it feels right, starting to imagine your navel like a beautiful flower blossoming open on that inhale. Exhale, hugging into a bud and drawing in towards the center of your body. So inhale, blossoming open. And exhale, drawing in. Find a steady rhythm with your breath. In through the nose, perhaps out of the mouth, or even in and out of the nose. You may find your body wanting to respond with some subtle movement here, so follow that impulse. Feeling the movement of the breath in your navel. Noticing any sensation, emotion, maybe you feel a warmth, a tingling. And then coming back into your natural breath. And if it feels right, applying that pressure of your hands just a little bit more, a strong anchor, and smiling deeply into your navel. Beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed that sampler of a very simple practice, a small practice that you can return to again and again, a way to deepen your relationship with your body, to listen to your body, to the language of your body. And you'll find a more extended version of this practice in the show notes that you can download and return to as often as you like. And remember, this isn't about fixing anything. It's about coming into a deeper relationship with your amazing body through gentle connection. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.